President Duterte of the Philippines says he is retiring from politics and won't stand in next May's election, where he could have run for vice president. But his spokesman has suggested this might not be the end of his life in politics. Provisional clinical trial results suggest an experimental drug for severe COVID cuts the risk of hospitalization or death by about half. If approved, it would be the first oral antiviral medication for COVID-19. Europe's mission to Mercury has sent back its first photo of the planet closest to the Sun. The Bepi Colombo craft aims to use the gravitational tug of the planet to develop a stable orbit by 2025. And the volcano that's been erupting for more than a week on the Spanish island of La Palma is spewing out 2 new streams of lava, forcing thousands more people to flee.
I think we're going to continue to see the death rates rise.
September ended on a grim note in the fight against COVID. More details on the deadliest month of the pandemic in Hawaii.
So right now, the feeling of our community is relief because it's back where it resides here in the Halemaumau crater.
Visitors are flocking to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park to catch a glimpse of the dramatic fiery show created by a new eruption at the summit of Kilauea.
An announcement that tens of thousands of Australians around the world have been waiting some 18 months for.
Plus, another one of Hawaii's major tourism markets is starting to open back up. Details from Down Under coming up on This Is Now.
The president of the Philippines has announced he will not run for the vice presidency in his country's upcoming election. Rodrigo Duterte says he has decided to end his political career.
Today, I announce my retirement from politics.
Duterte says the public overwhelmingly believes he is not qualified to be the vice president. He also says running for the post would violate the spirit of the Constitution. The nation's Constitution bans presidents from running for a second term. Candidates for the May elections started registering on Friday. The president's eldest daughter, Sara Duterte, is the mayor of Davao City. She is viewed as a possible contender. Some experts say Duterte reversed his decision to run in order to support her candidacy. Newly retired boxing legend Manny Pacquiao has filed the papers required to enter the race. In Japan, this is the first weekend since a state of emergency covering much of the country has been fully lifted, and people are making up for lost time.
I'm really happy. I needed a break from feeling stressful. I went out for drinks until 8 p.m. last night. I don't feel like going out for drinks just yet because I'm not sure I can enjoy myself.
Since the emergency measure was lifted on Friday, restaurants and bars have resumed serving alcohol. In a popular shopping district in central Tokyo, a street has been reopened to pedestrian traffic for the first time in about 6 months. One visitor said it has been a long time and it feels good to be able to drink outside again. The feeling of liberation, however, could be short-lived. An association of prefectural governors is calling on the central government to strengthen the healthcare system to prepare for a resurgence of infections.
We will take timely and appropriate measures to further curb the coronavirus. Now is the time to lay the groundwork to get people's lives back to normal and the economy moving again.
Osaka Governor Yoshimura Hirofumi says he is sure a 6th wave of contagion will come. Yoshimura says it is crucial to make a range of preparations, including streamlining the chain of command in the medical system so that patients can be treated promptly. The governors have demanded the central government help reinforce the country's medical system in case there is a resurgence of the virus. Tokyo on Saturday reported 196 new infections, nearly half the number of a week ago. Saturday was also the 7th day in a row that the number of daily cases in the capital fell below 300. Data compiled by Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. shows the coronavirus death toll in the country has topped 700,000. The news comes as the western state of California has announced plans to mandate vaccines for school children in order for them to attend classes in person. State Governor Gavin Newsom says the vaccine requirement will be imposed in stages. It'll start following full approval of COVID-19 vaccines for children by the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA has already given the go-ahead for the vaccines for people over 16 and has authorized inoculations for people aged 12 to 15 on an emergency basis. Vaccines for children under 12 are still in the testing stage. California's vaccine mandate is expected to take effect next July for students aged 12 and older, and at a later date for students under 12. The state already requires teachers and staff to be vaccinated or undergo weekly testing. U.S. President Joe Biden is strongly urging people to get their jabs as the pace of inoculations in the country has been slowing. Turning to China, where blackouts are slowing production at factories across the country, but power shortages are just the tip of the iceberg for the Chinese economy. Authorities in several parts of the country are implementing rolling blackouts amid a power shortage. Some have lasted more than 12 hours. This comes as limits on power supply were expanded last month in the country. Domestic media outlets say the situation has affected more than 20 provinces. One of these is Guangdong, home to a large number of manufacturers. Power restrictions have forced some factories to temporarily close. Others are operating at night where there are no limits on electricity use. There are two main reasons for the power shortage. One is soaring coal prices, and the other is tighter environmental regulations. The government aims to make China carbon neutral by 2060 and notified every province in August of how well they were performing in relation to this target. It's believed the provinces that did not meet their goals have restricted their power supply. Another concern for the Chinese economy is trouble in the real estate market. The government has been capping borrowing by development firms since last year in an effort to avoid a property bubble. This has led to a debt crisis at Evergrande, the country's second largest developer, which some analysts say could hurt the entire financial system. They also say other companies could soon face similar fates. One expert on the Chinese economy says the current situation is a perfect storm in which a number of issues have come together. He says it will be down to President Xi Jinping to come up with effective policy responses.
More factors which are causing slower economic growth have begun to appear. If the country's growth rate falls to the 4% or 3% mark next year in the worst-case scenario, the economy could be said to be stalling. This would be a significant blow to the economy.
Saito adds that trouble for the Chinese economy means trouble for the global economy. He says the rest of the world will be watching anxiously to see how the situation develops. The family of a woman abducted by North Korean agents more than 40 years ago has called on the incoming Japanese Prime Minister to fight for her return. Yokota Megumi was abducted on her way home from school in 1977. She turns 57 on Tuesday. The city where the Yokota family lives holds a meeting every year to mark Megumi's birthday. Her mother Sakie, now 85 years old, took the opportunity to issue a plea to the new prime minister.
あらゆることをして助けを求めましたけれども、未だに何一つ分かりません。新しく今度は総理がまた決まりますが、本当に真剣に日朝会談、首脳会談をまず一番にこのことを解決するために行動を起こしていただきたい。
Japan's chief cabinet secretary joined the meeting through a video link. He said the new government would do everything it could to help the families of the abductees.
Even if the administration changes, the government's policy will be the same. We will do our utmost to realize the return of all abductees as soon as possible and coordinate with the relevant countries.
The Japanese government says North Korean agents abducted at least 17 citizens in the 1970s and 80s. 5 were repatriated after a bilateral summit in 2002, but the rest, including Yokota Megumi, remain unaccounted for.